Hey brothers and sisters, this is Francis Enros. This is actually my second attempt at making this. The first one kind of seemed to glitch and shut off on me. So I'm going to try it again. I really thought I was done. I mean, I really thought I was done. I didn't think I was going to do any more videos. I wasn't sure actually. I might not, depends. But today, the Lord told me, get up at 4:30. It's 2 days in a row. He said, get up and read my word. And immediately he showed me something really cool. Something that somebody needs to hear. This is going to be for somebody today. That's what I heard was, this is for somebody. Somebody out there. Somebody out there is going to need this word. Then, number two, he showed me another thing that I thought was really cool. And then he told me to go and read the posts of the comments of the video I did yesterday. Now, I took one of those speed reading courses one time, and I have a tendency once in a while to just brush over stuff and not really read it. And the thing about it is, with reading, if you really don't spend some time and read it, you can miss stuff that is deep and important, that changes the context of the meaning of it. And I missed this completely. This I guess it's a gentleman named Percy had written this thing, actually condemnation, and I didn't read it, and the Lord sent me right to it and said, reread this. So I reposted another comment to that, because he put condemnation on somebody, and I'm here to tell you, God gave me a word for it today. And then the last thing he gave me, I think, was the most intense. And I was like, should I do that? Should I do that? Should I do that? And then I heard the Lord telling me, do what I showed you in order. And I actually think I'm going to leave out the last one and spend a little more time studying it. So the first thing I did, I opened my Bible, was 2 Chronicles. 2 Chronicles. And I was in open to chapter 26. And I really couldn't figure out why. But I thought I should be faithful and just stay with it. And in this, it's a period of time after David, after Solomon, and there's a bunch of various kings that come after. And it's interesting because it's like, it'll say, you know, so-and-so became the king at 20-something years old, and he did what was right in the sight of the Lord. And then he died and went on to his fathers, and his son so-and-so became the king at 22 years old, and he did what was evil in the sight of the Lord. And every time a king did what was right in the sight of the Lord, the kingdom was blessed. The people were prosperous. Nobody ever overtook them. They never lost any battles. Every time a king did evil and he started worshiping idols and sacrificing and doing, serving gods of the kingdoms around him, they'd get overrun. And it kept flipping back and forth. He did good, he did evil. They were conquered. Then the next king, he did good, and they got their freedom and they prospered. And then the next king, he did evil. And you're thinking to yourself, man, don't they ever learn? Don't they have a book of records? So in verse 26, it's this king named Uzziah, and he was 16 years old when God made him king. And what does it say? Where is it? And he did what was right in the sight of the Lord, according to all his father had done. So his father was really good too. Then after Uzziah came a couple other kings. Jotham was 25, and he did what was evil in the sight of the Lord. And then Ahaz was 20 years old. What does it say about him? And he sacrificed and burned incense on high places to foreign gods. And he was an abomination. All right. So on the scene comes, who was the next one that the Lord showed me? Hezekiah. And then Hezekiah comes on the scene. And Hezekiah, there's like several chapters just about Hezekiah's life. Hezekiah loved the Lord. He was awesome. And God blessed that kingdom. He protected that kingdom. He did what was awesome for that kingdom. It was really cool. It was a great read. I highly recommend it. So I get down to this place, and it's in chapter 33, verse 31. And I get to this paragraph that jumps off the page at me. And this is for somebody. And the thing about it is, we've all gone through this at some point, at some stage. If you've been serving the Lord for any length of time, you're going to relate to this, because I actually can relate to it in several different times of my life. Let me read it to you, and this is what it says. It says, however, regarding the ambassadors of the princes of Babylon, whom they sent to him to inquire about the wonder that was done in the land, him is Hezekiah. He says, in order to test, God withdrew from him, from Hezekiah, in order to test him, that he might know all that was in his heart. But see, Hezekiah didn't waver. He didn't change. So there was a time when the Spirit of God was moving mightily in Hezekiah. He was dreaming dreams. He was moving in the Spirit. He was moving in the gifts. And then nothing. He got nothing from God. Crying out to God, he heard nothing. He went for a period of time. What does it say here? He says, God withdrew from him in order to test him, so that he might know what was in his heart. I thought that was really interesting. So I wanted to encourage y'all today. If you're getting to a place, or if you've gone through a place for a period of time where it feels like a dry spell, where you're not hearing from God, or you feel like God's not listening to you, just keep going. Don't change your heart. Don't change what you're doing. Don't go back into the world. You know, there was a big letdown just recently because the rapture didn't happen on the 23rd, and then because it didn't happen on the 30th. You know what? I remember in 2015, I really was expecting the rapture to happen, and I was talking to a lot of people, and I had a lot of people excited about it, and there were some people in my life that were real close to me that were looking forward to it, and then when it didn't happen, they fell away like crazy, like now are doing just like they've never been saved, acting and behaving like people that have never been saved. And it was almost like God withdrew from them to see what was in their heart, and what was in their heart came out. There was no loyalty. You know, so I want to encourage y'all, just because it didn't happen on that day. I think God is messing with Satan. I really do. I think he's playing this game of chess with him. And look, we're supposed to do what we're doing. Jesus said, "Watch and pray always." So we're supposed to be watching. And this thing is a mystery. Well, Paul called it a mystery. And I think we're going to know. But like when God took Elijah, I think we're going to know the day of. I think that's when we're going to be told. Because remember, in the parable of the 25 virgins, it says a crier went out ahead of the bridegroom, saying, "The bridegroom comes." It was that night. And then they all got up and they trimmed their wicks, and they went out to meet the bridegroom. Half of them, but they were told he's coming. So I think we're going to hear it, but I think we're going to hear it on the day it happens. That's just my opinion, because all we can have is opinions about this stuff. I haven't heard the Lord say to me, "He is going to tell you on the day of." I haven't heard that yet. I hear God like that once in a while, but not all the time. But anyways, I thought this was really cool. God withdrew from him in order to test him, that he might know all that was in his heart. So don't change your heart. Keep seeking after God, no matter what. If you're in a dry place, if you're disappointed that he didn't come, don't worry about it. Don't worry about it. Look, we don't know. I can't tell you how many people wrote in me and told me they just got saved. The light bulb just came on for them this past December. What if God came last year? That person would have ended up in hell. God, he's wanting everybody in. There's people pouring into the kingdom right now. This YouTube ministry is not mine. YouTube, the ministry of Jesus Christ on YouTube it's exploding, and it's reaching lots of people, and God is using it mightily to bring thousands and thousands and thousands of people into the kingdom every day. So every day that God waits, thousands more are getting saved. Isn't it like our Father to to wait till the very last day, to wait as long as possible. Even an extra minute might be a couple hundred more souls. So, I'm not going to begrudge God for not coming on the 30th, but rather here we are on the 3rd, and it's been 3 days, and I'll bet you another 8, 10, 12,000 people got saved. There you go. Look at it like that. All right, but don't change what's in your heart to do. Do what you know to do is right. All right, then we've got Percy, and this is what Percy was saying. He because I didn't read it. I just kind of glanced over it, and you actually have to hit read more for it to expand, and that's where I got in trouble. He went on to say that that if you don't worship, if you worship on Sunday and not Saturday, you're damned. It's like you're taking the mark, and that's just not true. I know that the Catholic Church started that. All right, they called their Sunday worship the mark, and there may be something going on with that in the future, afterwards. But you got to understand, we're still in the dispensation of grace, and Paul. Well, let's see what Paul says about it, because Paul was the man. And Paul says, okay, now remember how it all happened. The Catholic Church was trying to steal people away from the pagan church. I say pagan church just from idol worship. They were worshiping the sun, they were worshiping Lucifer, they were worshiping Saturn, not unlike what the Illuminati do now. Pretty much the same thing, that all the elite do. Baal and all that. So there was a time when the Catholic Church actually was, focused on Jesus before all the Jesuits took over. I don't know, but I'm not going to judge them. I wasn't around in the 1200s or 1300s. I can't really speak to it, because the Lord hadn't told me this is what I did then, and this is how I did it, and why I did it. But I just know that they started doing, they changed worship, because, let's face it, the Jews worshipped on Saturday. Saturday is the Sabbath. I know that because I teach Taekwondo in an area that has a lot of Jews, and, Saturday is their Sabbath. Sundown on Saturday begins Saturday night on sundown and ends Sunday night on sundown. All right, that's their Sabbath. So they worship, or is it Friday to Saturday? I don't know. I should know, because I have to deal with these people. It's one or the other. But anyways, it's Saturday. Okay, it's Saturday. It must be Friday night to Saturday. I'll bet that's what it is. So the Catholics wanted to steal the people from the pagan worshipers, who were sun worshipers, who worshipped on Sunday. I think before they did that, they were actually worshiping on Saturday like the Jews had. So what they did was they changed it to Sunday so they could steal the people. They could entice the people, because all the people were in the habit of going to church or going to worship idols on Sunday, and it was just familiar to them, and look, maybe God did that. Who knows? Maybe God did that to steal them away from pagan worship. Better they be worshiping at an altar where Jesus is there than to Baal, sacrificing their children. What happened in the Catholic Church after that was, Satan took over that church, that's for sure. So Paul says, all things are lawful for me, but not all things are helpful. All things are lawful for me, but not all things edify. Let no one seek his own, but each one the other's well-being. All right, we are in the dispensation of grace, Percy. All right, you're not going to hell because you don't worship on Saturday. That's just ridiculous. I mean, that doesn't even make any sense. Okay, Romans 10, 8, 9, and 10. All right, everybody understands that as the outline of salvation. If you confess with your mouth that Jesus is your Lord and believe in your heart God raised him from the dead, you will be saved. That's what it says. It doesn't say, and go to church on Saturday. Because that doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. Do I think God would prefer we worship on Saturday? Probably. He designated it. But remember, Christ has redeemed us from the curse of the law. That was in the law, having become the curse for us. For it is written, cursed is everyone who hangs on a tree, so that the blessings of Abraham may come upon those who are in Christ Jesus. You know, Abraham was justified by his faith, not because he worshiped on Saturday. Abraham didn't worship on Saturday. That wasn't even a law back then. So you're taking this whole thing out of context, Percy, and then you're putting condemnation on people. Man, you don't want to do that. You don't want to put condemnation on people. You know, I could see you encouraging them, hey, this is what God wrote, and this is why he wanted you to do it, and I would encourage you to do it. You know, if you go to a Messianic Jewish church, which is Jews who believe in Jesus, they worship on Saturday. They do. They absolutely do. Now, Paul goes further into this, because they were asking him, you know, should we eat meat that's been sacrificed to idols? And Paul's going, look, an idol is nothing. It has a mouth that can't talk. It has eyes that can't see. It's a piece of wood. It's a statue. We know an idol is nothing. But, he says, look at it like this. Eat whatever is set before you, asking no question, for conscience sake. Now, I want you to remember that part where he says, for conscience sake, because he explains what he means by that. But if anyone says to you, this was offered to idols, don't eat it, for the sake of the one who told you, and for conscience sake. So he says, don't eat it. And there's two reasons I don't want you to eat it. For the sake of the one who told you. Why? What does that mean? If somebody leans over to you and says to you, hey man, that leg of lamb was sacrificed to Buddha, he says, don't eat it. Because if the person told you, it's bothering them. And if you eat it, you're going to offend them. We're not supposed to do anything that offends anybody. You can just say, you know what? Take this away. Give me something else. Because it will offend the guy next to you. That's what he's talking about here. For the sake of the one who told you. And for conscience sake. And you're thinking that's for your own conscience. You know, this is where Percy's argument might actually have some tread, because you in your own mind realize, oh, I should be worshiping on Saturday, not Sunday, because the Jews did it, so maybe I should do it. You know, and then condemnation comes in, because Satan's so good at this. Man, he is so good at this. He knows he's lost our soul, so if he just messes with our mind and maybe, you know, confuses it, so we confuse other people so they get condemnation, you know, it hinders us. All right, but listen to what Paul says. He says, conscience, I say, not your own, but that of the person who told you. Okay? So it's for their conscience. It's not yours. It's not about you. You know, look, if you know that thing is an idol and it's a piece of wood and it might have a mouth, but it can't talk, it's not a god, it doesn't have power, doesn't have authority, doesn't have anything, can't do anything, and that, you know, I have this friend, his black guy, love this guy. Anthony Samuel is his name. We call him the Jewish black guy. Loves the Lord, great minister, deep in the spirit of the Lord. I mean, moves in the gifts of the Spirit, prophetic. Love that guy. Anthony, if you ever watch my video, man, I miss you, brother. I miss you. I love you. Him and I used to sit around and talk about the Lord and share testimonies and stuff like that for hours. He was a window washer. He used to come by my business and wash our windows, and he'd put his guys, go wash the windows, and he'd come in my office, and we would just sit there for an hour and you know, minister to each other. But he was telling me one day about how he went to this Vietnamese restaurant, and he was cleaning the guy's windows, and the owner and him became friends because he was doing it for years. And the guy comes out with this big roasted leg of lamb that was all just roasted, and he put it down in front of Buddha. He said, man, he goes, oh, that thing smelled so good. I'm there cleaning the windows, and I turned around and looked at him, and I said to him, Vu, Why don't you let me have that thing? He's never going to eat it. He's not alive. He's not going to eat that thing. You've been setting food out for him for the last 3 years. I've watched every time I come in here, you set food out for that thing, but he ain't going to eat it. He's a statue. He ain't alive. Why don't you let me have that thing? It smells so good. I will eat it, and I will appreciate it, and I'll give you a big old fat tip for it. I laughed so hard. I was like, what did he say? He goes, he just looked at me with his look on his face. I said, did you eat it? He goes, no. But when he left the room, I was tempted to reach down and take a big bite, and the next time he came out, say, hey, look, he took a bite. But he goes, I didn't. But I wanted to. He was funny. I like that guy. So, those were the things that the Lord wanted me to share with you today. Percy, stop putting condemnation on people. They're not going to hell because they worship on Sunday. That's ridiculous. Christ has redeemed us from the curse of the law. And Percy, I want to encourage you, man, don't put condemnation on people. If you feel like that, keep it to yourself. You know, don't do that. That'll bring condemnation on you. All right? You don't want to do that. Walk in love, dude. Walk in love. Walk in love. Anyways, I did have one other thing, but I'm going to save it. I'm going to do it on another day. I'm going into the gym. I've got a harvest working there. I got about 4 or 5 people that I am ministering to right now. Quick testimony. So I got a comment on my video yesterday from a young lady. I'm not going to give her name out. I don't want to do that. But as soon as I read her thing, the Lord told me, you need to talk to her. You need to pray with her. You know, man, I'd love to pray with all of you in person, but I can't always do that. And if I've tried to, or we haven't gotten together with anybody, I apologize. I'm sorry. I am going in 50 million directions. I'm doing my best, but I'm only human. I am a child of the Most High God. I shouldn't say that. I'm only human. That is wrong. I am a child of the Most High God, but I can only do just what I can do. She had some issues, and we were going to pray over them. And I was praying, and as I was praying, I saw a car accident, and I saw a bad car accident. It was real traumatic. Not that the accident itself was so bad, but something traumatized her is what I saw. And I asked her, I stopped in the middle of my prayer and I asked her, I said, hey, have you been in a car accident? She got kind of quiet. She was like, yeah. And apparently it was a hit and run, and the guy actually assaulted her. I don't know that he raped her or anything like that, but he attacked her, and she said it was extremely traumatic. And what the Lord showed me was it put a spirit of trauma on her, which ushered in fear, it ushered in anxiety, and with that it ushered in pain, and all these other things came in because the trauma of the accident was so traumatic, sorry to use a word, I couldn't think of a different word, that spirit was allowed to attach itself to her. You know, and accidents are like that. If you've been in a really bad accident and you're dealing with things that, you know, seem odd to you, that they, you know, these things should not be happening to you, and it could be anything from physical ailments like neck injuries that just haven't healed in a year and a half, or back injuries or things like that, or it could be stress or anxiety or worry or fear or things like that. These things will use an event like that to latch onto you really fast because you don't notice it. The trauma of the accident. Also, if you're like knocked out from that thing or in a daze from that thing, it's almost like a drug where your defenses are down. You know, that thing could have never come upon you without that event happening. But that event is like an open door, a period of time where that thing can latch on, and then it'll hide. It won't present itself for a while, and then slowly it'll start to manipulate. And you don't notice it because it didn't just happen, you know, from out of nowhere. It happened from a traumatic event. And God showed me that before in that lady that I prayed for in the rent-a-car place, Thelma. That was interesting. I've told that story a couple times, so I'm not going to tell it again. But so we took authority over that thing, and we bound it in the name of Jesus. And I'm waiting for your testimony, young lady. I want you to tell me, because I'm believing that you're going to be free from that thing. And it was all good. It was really good. It was really good. I could feel the Holy Spirit there. I hope you could feel it too, because it was pretty strong. I felt it. And usually the Lord doesn't tell me something unless He's going to do something about it. And He showed me clearly what she was dealing with, and she confirmed it. She said, yes, absolutely, that did happen to me. So that was kind of cool. And that's what happened to me yesterday. And that's about it. That's all. All right, it's at 24 minutes. I really tried to make this fast. I can't seem to do a video under 20 minutes. I don't know why. I'll talk to y'all later. Bye.